I didn't know I was making history that night. I thought it was just another Tuesday. My name is Staff Sergeant Marcus Chen, United States Air Force, 28 years old. Been flying drones for 6 years now. Remote pilot aircraft, they call us. RPA. Sounds cleaner than what we actually do. I sit in a shipping container in the middle of the Qatar desert, 8,000 miles away from where my missiles hit, and I press buttons that end lives. That's the job. I grew up in Sacramento, wanted to be a pilot since I was 7. Had those plastic F-16 models hanging from my bedroom ceiling. My dad was Air Force too, flew cargo planes in the Gulf War. He always said flying was the closest thing to being God. You see everything from up there. You control everything from up there. What he never told me was how heavy that control feels when you're holding it in your hands. I enlisted right out of high school, scored high enough on the AFOQT for pilot training, but my vision wasn't perfect. 20/20 corrected, but that's not good enough for the cockpit. So they put me in a different kind of cockpit, one with no windows, no sky, no horizon, just screens. 9 monitors arranged in a semicircle, showing me feeds from drones I'll never touch, flying over countries I'll never visit, watching people I'll never meet. Al Udeid Air Base sits in the middle of nothing, sand and concrete and more sand. The heat hits you like opening an oven door, even at night, even in February. The compound where I work is a maze of white shipping containers, each one housing 2 operators and enough classified equipment to level a city block. Container 7 Alpha has been my office for 18 months now. 8 feet wide, 20 feet long, no windows, fluorescent lights that hum like angry wasps, and air conditioning that sounds like a jet engine but keeps the temperature at exactly 72 degrees. Always 72 degrees. The temperature never changes. Nothing changes except what's happening on the screens. February 28th started like every other night. I clocked in at 1800 hours, grabbed coffee from the machine that's been broken for 3 months but still somehow produces something brown and caffeinated. My partner Rodriguez was already at his station, headset on, talking quietly to someone at Langley. He looked up when I sat down. "Big night tonight," he said. That's all he said. Rodriguez has been doing this longer than me, 12 years. He has that look in his eyes that comes from watching too many feeds, tracking too many targets, pressing too many buttons. He doesn't talk much about home anymore, doesn't talk much about anything except the mission. When Rodriguez says it's a big night, you listen. I powered up my station. 9 screens flickered to life, casting that familiar blue glow across the container walls. Screen 1 shows the primary feed from the drone's main camera. Screen 2 is thermal imaging. Screen 3 is the weapon system. Screen 4 shows GPS coordinates and flight data. Screens 5 through 9 cycle through different intelligence feeds, satellite imagery, communication intercepts, target analysis. It's like conducting an orchestra, except instead of music, you're orchestrating death. The primary target designation came through at 1915. Compound Delta 7, coordinates 35.698 north, 51.421 east, about 20 kilometers northwest of Tehran. I've been watching this compound for weeks, months actually, ever since October when the first intelligence reports started coming in about increased activity in the area. High-value individuals entering and leaving at irregular intervals, communication spikes, vehicle patterns that suggested something important was happening there. But I never knew what. That's not how this works. I'm not cleared for target identity. I'm cleared for target engagement. I know coordinates. I know building specifications. I know blast radius calculations and collateral damage assessments. I know how many Hellfire missiles it takes to turn a 2-story concrete building into rubble. What I don't know is who's inside. The compound showed up on my screen as a cluster of white rectangles against the dark landscape. Thermal imaging revealed heat signatures moving between buildings. Vehicles parked in specific patterns. Security checkpoints at the perimeter. From 8,000 feet up, it looked like any other high-security facility. Could have been a military installation. Could have been a government office. Could have been a meeting of regional business leaders planning infrastructure projects. Could have been anything. At 2000 hours, Rodriguez got a call on his encrypted line. He listened for maybe 30 seconds, said "copy that," and hung up. Then he turned to me. "Green light," he said. Full package authorization. Every building, every vehicle. Leave nothing standing. I'd never received a full package authorization before. Usually we hit specific targets. One building, one vehicle, one room even. Surgical strikes, they call them. Precision warfare. But this was different. This was erase everything. The drone was already in position. MQ-9 Reaper, call sign Falcon 6-2. 27 feet long, 65-foot wingspan, carrying 4 Hellfire missiles and enough fuel to loiter over target for 14 hours. It had been circling the compound since 1600, invisible and silent, 3 miles above the earth. I began my targeting sequence at 20:07 hours. Building 1 was the largest structure, 3 stories, reinforced concrete, multiple heat signatures on all floors. I designated it Priority Alpha and armed the first Hellfire. The missile systems responded with a soft electronic chirp, green lights across my weapon control panel. Target locked, firing solution confirmed. I pressed the button. The screen flashed white for a fraction of a second. Then I watched the feed as the missile traveled from the drone to the building below. 30 seconds of flight time, 30 seconds where I could have called it off, could have redirected, could have stopped what was about to happen. But I didn't. I watched the crosshairs stay locked on the building's center mass. I watched the countdown timer tick from 30 to 20 to 10 to 0. The explosion lit up the thermal imaging like a small sun. The building collapsed in on itself, floors pancaking down in a controlled demolition. Debris scattered in a perfect circle around the impact point. The heat bloom from the explosion temporarily whited out my sensors. When the image cleared, Building 1 was gone. Rodriguez was already calling out the next target. Building 2, northwest corner, multiple vehicles adjacent. I locked onto Building 2 and fired the second missile, then the third, then the fourth. Each explosion registered as a bright flash on my screen, followed by collapsing structures and spreading debris fields. Within 6 minutes, every building in the compound was either destroyed or severely damaged. But we weren't done. Command wants secondary sweep, Rodriguez said. Any remaining structures, any vehicles attempting to leave the area. Full spectrum engagement until the site is completely neutralized. That's when the real work began. The Reaper carried 24 additional Hellfire missiles in external pods. What followed was 47 minutes of systematic destruction. I counted every button press. 47 times I locked onto a target and sent a missile into it. Guard towers, vehicle checkpoints, a communications antenna, storage buildings, individual vehicles trying to leave the compound, even the access road leading to the main gate. Press, flash, explosion, target eliminated, next target, press, flash, explosion, target eliminated, next target. The rhythm of it becomes hypnotic after a while. Your brain disconnects from what you're actually doing. It becomes a video game, points and scores and objectives completed. The people on the thermal imaging stop being people. They become heat signatures, targets, problems to be solved. I remember thinking how clean it all looked from 8,000 feet up. No blood, no screaming, no bodies. Just bright flashes and spreading circles of debris. The thermal imaging showed heat signatures disappearing one by one, but they could have been anything. Vehicles, generators, electrical systems shutting down. By 21:30 hours, nothing was moving in the compound. Nothing was left standing. The entire facility had been reduced to smoking rubble spread across maybe 6 acres of Iranian countryside. Mission accomplished. Rodriguez made his final report to command. Falcon 6-2 returning to base. Target area completely neutralized. 0 hostile activity detected. No friendly casualties. I powered down my systems and filled out the mission debrief forms. Target engagement times, munitions expended, battle damage assessment, standard paperwork, just like every other night. I didn't know. I didn't know that I had just participated in the biggest targeted killing operation since Osama bin Laden. I didn't know that the heat signatures I had been tracking for months were some of the most wanted men in the world. I didn't know that Building 1 housed a meeting of the Iranian Supreme National Security Council. I didn't know that Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, had been in that building when my first missile hit. I didn't know that Ali Larijani, the Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, was in Building 2. I didn't know that Gholam Reza Soleimani, commander of the Basij militia, was in Building 3. I didn't know that over 40 high-ranking Iranian officials had been gathered in that compound for what they thought was a secure planning meeting. I didn't know that this operation had been months in the planning, that the CIA and Mossad had been feeding us intelligence for over a year, that they had been tracking communications, monitoring travel patterns, waiting for exactly the right moment when all these targets would be in the same place at the same time. I found out 3 days later. Rodriguez came into the container with a newspaper, USA Today. The headline read, "Iran's Supreme Leader Killed in U.S. Airstrike." Below that, a smaller headline, "Biggest Leadership Decapitation Since Bin Laden." I stared at the paper for a long time. Then I looked at my logbook. February 28th, 47 button presses, target area completely neutralized. "That was us," Rodriguez said. He wasn't asking, he was stating a fact. I called my dad that night, first time I'd called home in 6 weeks. He answered on the second ring. "Marcus, you okay? You sound weird." I didn't know what to say. I sat in my dormitory room staring at the desert outside my window, holding a phone and trying to figure out how to explain that I had just changed the course of history and didn't even know it was happening. "I'm fine, Dad, just wanted to hear your voice." "You sure? You sound shaken up." "I'm fine, really. How's Mom?" We talked for 20 minutes about nothing. The weather back home, my sister's new job, his retirement plans, normal things, safe things, things that had nothing to do with Hellfire missiles and thermal imaging and the weight of 47 button presses. I haven't told him. I haven't told anyone in my family. What would I say? "Hey, Mom, remember that big news story about Iran? That was me. I did that. I killed the Supreme Leader and 40 other people, and I didn't even know their names." The official debriefing started a week later. Men in suits from Washington who asked very specific questions and took very detailed notes. They wanted to know about the targeting sequence, the timeline of engagements, my psychological state during and after the mission, whether I felt ready to continue operational duties. I told them I was fine. I told them the mission proceeded according to standard protocols. I told them I experienced no unusual stress or psychological complications. I told them what they wanted to hear. But I wasn't fine. I still press buttons, still watch feeds from drones circling over countries whose names I can't pronounce, still track heat signatures and lock onto targets and send missiles into buildings. The job continues. The war continues. New targets, new coordinates, new missions. But now I know. Now I understand that every button press might be history. Every heat signature might be someone's father, someone's brother, someone's son. Every explosion might be the one that changes everything. The news coverage went on for weeks. Analysis pieces about the power vacuum in Iran, opinion articles about the effectiveness of targeted killings, talking heads on cable news debating the legal implications of assassination operations, maps showing the compound location, satellite photos of the destroyed buildings, timeline graphics showing exactly when each missile hit. None of them mentioned the 2 guys in a shipping container in Qatar who actually pressed the buttons. None of them talked about the months of intelligence gathering that made it possible. None of them explained how it feels to find out after the fact that you've just participated in one of the most significant military operations of your lifetime. I've been having dreams, not nightmares exactly. Just dreams where I'm back in Container 7 Alpha, watching the thermal imaging feeds, counting down from 30 to 0 over and over again. Sometimes in the dreams, the buildings are full of people I recognize, my family, my friends from high school. Sometimes they're empty. Sometimes they're full of strangers whose faces I can see clearly even though thermal imaging doesn't show faces. I wake up and check the news. Iran is still in chaos. The Revolutionary Guard is fighting among themselves over succession. There are protests in Tehran. The government is barely functioning. Some analysts say it could take years for Iran to stabilize. Others say it never will. All because I pressed 47 buttons on a Tuesday night in February. Rodriguez got transferred last month. Promotion, they said. New assignment at Creech Air Force Base in Nevada. Before he left, we had one conversation about that night. We were cleaning out Container 7 Alpha, packing up the classified equipment for the next crew. "You ever think about it?" I asked him. "That night?" He stopped packing and looked at me. "Think about what?" "What it means. What we did." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I think about a lot of things, Chen, but thinking doesn't change anything. We had our orders. We followed our orders. That's the job. But if we had known what? That it was important? That it mattered? Every mission matters to someone. Every target is someone's everything. You start thinking about who they are, what they mean, why they're there. You can't do this job anymore." He finished packing his equipment and walked toward the door. Then he turned back. The alternative was letting them live, letting them keep planning attacks, keep funding terrorism, keep destabilizing the region. You think about that too, Chen. You think about what doesn't happen now because of what we did that night. Maybe he's right. Maybe I should think about the attacks that won't happen, the lives that might be saved because we removed 41 high-ranking Iranian officials from the world. Maybe there's a balance sheet somewhere that shows the operation was worth it. But I can't stop thinking about the 30 seconds between pressing the button and watching the explosion. 30 seconds when everything was already decided but nothing had happened yet. 30 seconds when I could have stopped it but didn't know I should. 30 seconds that keep playing over and over in my head. I'm still here. Still in Container 7 Alpha with a new partner who doesn't talk much and doesn't ask questions. Still watching feeds from drones I'll never see. Still tracking targets I'll never identify. Still pressing buttons that send missiles into buildings full of people whose names I'll never know. Last week I got new orders. Target designation Compound Echo 3. Coordinates 33.397 north, 44.394 east. About 50 kilometers west of Baghdad. High-value individuals. Increased activity. Communications spikes. The intelligence reports look familiar. I've been watching the compound for 6 days now. Heat signatures moving between buildings. Vehicles arriving and departing at irregular intervals. Security patterns that suggest something important is happening there. I don't know what. I don't know who. Tonight they might give me green light authorization. Tonight I might press more buttons. Tonight I might make more history without knowing it. The screens are glowing blue in the darkness. The air conditioning is humming at exactly 72 degrees. My coffee is getting cold. Rodriguez's replacement is reading his classified briefings and doesn't look up when I adjust my headset. It's just another Tuesday. But I'll never know if it's just another Tuesday until it's over, until the headlines appear, until someone hands me a newspaper and tells me what I've done. 47 button presses changed the world. I wonder how many it will take next time.